Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Society. Tonight, we're settling into one of humanity's oldest and most comforting companions, fire. More specifically, we're exploring the quiet mystery of why flickering flames have such a profound ability to calm our minds, slow our breathing, and draw us into a state of peaceful relaxation that feels almost magical in its simplicity. Before we begin this gentle journey through neuroscience, evolution, and the dancing light of flames, I want to invite you to become part of our community. If you find these explorations soothing, if you enjoy drifting through science as you settle into rest, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps other sleepy souls find their way here, one peaceful mind at a time. But for now, all you need to do is get comfortable. Let your shoulders drop. Allow your breathing to slow. And let yourself be drawn into the warm glow of understanding as we explore why fire has captivated human attention for hundreds of thousands of years. Picture yourself on a cold evening, sitting before a fireplace. The room around you fades into soft shadows. The only sound is the gentle crackling of burning wood and the occasional pop of a pocket of sap meeting flame. The light dances across the walls in patterns that never quite repeat, always shifting, always new, yet somehow deeply familiar. Your eyes follow the flames as they curl and twist, reaching upward before dissolving into glowing embers. Without realizing it, your thoughts begin to slow. The concerns that felt so pressing just moments ago seem to soften and recede. Your breathing deepens. Your muscles release a tension you didn't know you were holding. You feel yourself sinking into a state of calm that is both alert and deeply restful at the same time. This experience is not coincidence. It is not simply the warmth of the fire or the comfort of the setting, though both contribute. What you are experiencing is a complex orchestration of neurological, physiological, and psychological processes that have been shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution. Your brain, when it encounters flickering flames, responds in ways that reach back to the very origins of what it means to be human. Tonight, we will uncover the science behind this ancient relationship, exploring how fire speaks to something fundamental in our neural architecture, how it shifts our brain waves into patterns associated with meditation and deep relaxation, and why this simple element continues to hold such power over our modern minds. The ancient dance between humans and fire. To understand why fire relaxes us so profoundly, we must first travel back through time to when our ancestors first learned to control flames. The human relationship with fire stretches back approximately 1.5 million years, though some evidence suggests even earlier encounters. This was not merely a technological breakthrough. It was a transformation so fundamental that it shaped the very structure of our brains and the patterns of our social behavior. Before fire, early humans lived in darkness once the sun set. They were vulnerable to predators, cold, and the limitations of raw food. The discovery and eventual mastery of fire changed everything. Suddenly, the day extended into night. Light pushed back the shadows where dangers lurked. Warmth made cold climates survivable. Cooked food became easier to digest, providing more calories and nutrients that could fuel larger, more complex brains. But beyond these practical advantages, fire created something else, something that would prove equally important to human development: a gathering place. Imagine those early humans, huddled around a controlled flame as darkness pressed in from all sides. The fire became the center of their world during those nighttime hours. It was where they felt safe, where they could see each other's faces, where they could communicate and bond. Anthropologists believe that the hearth, the controlled fire at the center of human settlements, became one of the most important social institutions in our evolutionary history. It was around these fires that language may have flourished, where stories were told and retold, where elders passed knowledge to the young, where the complex web of human social relationships was woven and strengthened. Dr. Christopher Lynn, a psychological and medical anthropologist who has conducted extensive research on human responses to fire, suggests that our brains may have actually been shaped by this nightly exposure to flames. Over countless generations, individuals who found fire calming and who were drawn to gather around it would have had significant advantages. They would have stayed warmer, participated more fully in social learning, absorbed more cultural knowledge, and formed stronger bonds with their community. These advantages would have translated into better survival and reproductive success, gradually selecting for neural patterns that respond positively to fire. This process created what we might think of as an evolutionary feedback loop. Fires made humans more social and cooperative, providing contexts for extended periods of relaxed interaction. These interactions, in turn, strengthened the cognitive abilities that made humans successful: language, theory of mind, cooperative problem-solving, and cultural learning. Matt Rossano, a psychologist from Southeastern Louisiana University, has proposed that the meditative qualities of watching fire may have directly impacted how our brains developed. He suggests that early humans who spent time staring into flames entered altered states of consciousness that enhanced their working memory and their ability to think about complex, multi-step plans. Think about what happens in your mind when you watch a fire. You enter a state that is both focused and relaxed. Your attention is captured, but not in the demanding way that requires effort. This state, which psychologists call soft fascination, may have provided early humans with a natural form of mental training. While sitting by the fire, their minds could wander productively, making connections between different pieces of information, planning future actions, and consolidating memories. Over generations, brains that could enter and benefit from this state more readily would have been favored by natural selection. The archaeological record supports this deep connection between humans and fire. Sites where ancient fires burned show evidence of careful maintenance and long-term use. These were not temporary or haphazard flames, but sustained, controlled fires that required attention and skill. The remains of ancient hearths reveal patterns of use that suggest ritualistic or ceremonial importance, not merely practical necessity. Fire was not just a tool. It was a presence, a companion, perhaps even something sacred. This evolutionary history is written into your nervous system. When you sit before a fire today, whether it burns in a modern fireplace or an outdoor fire pit, or even appears on a television screen, your brain responds with patterns that were established over hundreds of thousands of years. The relaxation you feel is not learned during your lifetime. It is an inheritance, passed down through countless generations, encoded in the very architecture of your neural circuits. Your ancestors survived cold nights and dangerous predators by gathering around flames, and their success in doing so shaped you in ways that persist to this very moment. The warmth that spreads through your body when you sit near a fire does more than heat your skin. It triggers ancient associations with safety and abundance. In our evolutionary past, fire meant protection from the night's dangers. It meant cooked food and the ability to stay warm enough to sleep soundly. These were matters of survival, and so our brains learned to associate the presence of fire with fundamental security. When you feel your body relax in front of flames, you are experiencing the echo of countless ancestors who found safety in that exact same experience. The neuroscience of flame watching. What exactly happens in your brain when you watch flickering flames? Modern neuroscience has begun to map the intricate processes that unfold behind your closed eyelids and beneath your skull when fire captures your attention. The findings reveal a complex symphony of neural activity that explains why something as simple as watching fire can produce such profound effects on your mental state. When you first look at a fire, visual information enters through your eyes and travels along the optic nerve to the visual cortex at the back of your brain. This is the same pathway activated by any visual stimulus, but fire presents a unique set of characteristics that make it especially interesting to your neural processing systems. The flames move in ways that are neither completely predictable nor entirely random. There is pattern within the chaos, structure within the randomness. This combination captures attention in a particular way. Your brain is fundamentally a pattern recognition system. It constantly seeks to predict what will happen next, using past experience to anticipate future events. When patterns are too simple, your brain quickly loses interest because there is nothing new to learn. When patterns are too complex or completely random, your brain also disengages because prediction is impossible. Fire occupies a sweet spot between these extremes. The movement of flames follows physical laws related to combustion, heat, and fluid dynamics, creating patterns that have structure. But the exact shape and movement of any particular flame in any particular moment contains elements of unpredictability. Your brain finds this endlessly engaging. As you continue watching the fire, something remarkable begins to happen in your neural activity. Researchers using electroencephalography, or EEG, have documented specific changes in brainwave patterns during fire watching. The most significant of these changes involves the alpha wave, an oscillation in electrical activity that occurs at a frequency of 8 to 12 cycles per second, typically peaking around 10 Hz. Alpha waves are associated with a state of relaxed alertness. They increase when you close your eyes and rest quietly, when you meditate, when you daydream, and, as it turns out, when you watch flickering flames. Dr. Susan Albers from the Cleveland Clinic explains that the sight of flame activates the amygdala, which is the emotional center of the brain. The amygdala processes emotional significance and threat assessment. When it encounters fire in a controlled context, such as a fireplace, it registers the presence of something that was historically significant to survival, but without the signal of immediate danger. This creates a unique emotional state, a kind of positive arousal that is engaging without being stressful. The flickering of the flame then promotes relaxation and reduces stress hormones like cortisol. Research conducted at the University of Alabama examined exactly these processes. In a 3-year study led by Dr. Christopher Lynn, 226 participants watched videos of fireplaces, some with sound and some without. The researchers measured blood pressure before and after viewing and found consistent decreases, particularly in the condition where both visual flames and crackling sounds were present. The longer participants watched the fire, the greater the decrease in their blood pressure. Brain scans revealed that even simulated fire activated neural pathways associated with relaxation and social bonding. What makes these findings particularly interesting is that the effects were strongest in individuals who scored highly on measures of prosocial behavior, such as empathy and generosity. This suggests that the relaxation response to fire is intimately connected with the social functions that fire served throughout human evolution. Those who were most capable of forming social bonds and cooperating with others showed the strongest physiological responses to fire, supporting the hypothesis that fire watching and social behavior evolved together, each reinforcing the other over countless generations. The default mode network of your brain also becomes more active during fire watching. This network, which includes regions such as the medial prefrontal cortex and the posterior cingulate cortex, activates when you are not focused on external tasks. It is associated with self-reflection, memory consolidation, imagining the future, and the kind of mental wandering that often leads to creative insights. When you stare into a fire, your brain shifts into a mode where this network can operate more freely. Your attention is gently held by the flames, but it is not demanding or effortful attention. This creates space for your mind to drift, to make unexpected connections, to process emotions and experiences. Many people report that their best ideas come to them while sitting by a fire. This is not coincidence. The brain state induced by fire watching is similar to what happens during certain forms of meditation, where focused attention on a single object allows background mental processes to run more smoothly. Problems that seemed intractable can suddenly resolve. Creative solutions that were elusive suddenly appear obvious. This happens because your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive control and focused problem-solving, reduces its dominance, allowing other brain regions to contribute more freely to your thoughts. The neuroscience of fire watching also involves the release of specific neurochemicals. Dopamine, often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, increases when you watch flames. This is the same chemical involved in reward and pleasure, and its release creates a gentle sense of contentment and satisfaction. Serotonin, another neurotransmitter associated with mood regulation and feelings of well-being, also increases during the relaxed state induced by fire watching. Meanwhile, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, decreases. This combination of neurochemical changes creates a powerful shift in your emotional and physiological state. Your brain also experiences what neuroscientists call a trance-like state during prolonged fire watching. This is characterized by focused attention, slowed breathing, and muscle relaxation. When participants in studies are interviewed after watching fire, they consistently describe their minds as clearing and feeling free from the usual jumble of daily concerns. Their brainwave patterns show characteristics similar to those achieved by experienced meditators after years of practice. Yet, fire watching produces this state naturally and effortlessly for most people. The visual nature of fire also matters. Unlike the harsh blue light emitted by electronic screens or the limited spectrum of most artificial lighting, firelight provides a full spectrum of wavelengths, particularly in the warm orange and red ranges. These wavelengths signal to your brain that it is evening or nighttime, helping to regulate your circadian rhythms. This natural light quality prepares your body for sleep in ways that artificial lighting does not, contributing to the overall sense of peaceful drowsiness that often accompanies an evening by the fire. The 10 Hertz Mystery. One of the most fascinating discoveries in the science of fire watching involves a remarkable numerical coincidence, or perhaps something deeper than coincidence. Natural fires, when burning relatively and undisturbed in conditions such as a fireplace or campfire, flicker at a remarkably consistent rate. Regardless of the size of the fire, the type of wood being burned, or the specific flow rates of air feeding the combustion, flames tend to flicker at approximately 10 to 12 cycles per second. That is, 10 to 12 hertz. This number should sound familiar if you recall our discussion of alpha brain waves. The alpha rhythm, which represents relaxed, internally focused attention, occurs at 8 to 12 hertz, with 10 hertz being the dominant frequency for most people. The flickering rate of fire falls almost exactly within this range, and most commonly aligns precisely with the peak alpha frequency of the human brain. This raises a profound question. Is this alignment mere chance, or does it reflect something fundamental about the relationship between fire and human consciousness? The phenomenon involved here is called frequency following response, or brain entrainment. When the brain is exposed to rhythmic stimulation at a particular frequency, neural oscillations tend to synchronize with that external rhythm. This is the principle behind many meditation technologies that use rhythmic light or sound to guide brain activity into desired states. Flickering light at 10 Hz can induce the brain to produce more alpha waves at that same frequency, effectively guiding neural activity into patterns associated with relaxation and meditative awareness. When you gaze at flickering flames, you are exposing your visual cortex to rhythmic stimulation at precisely the frequency that corresponds to your brain's natural relaxation rhythm. After watching fire for just 5 to 10 minutes without distraction, your brain begins to shift toward alpha dominance in the visual cortex. For most people, particularly those with busy, active minds, this shift feels wonderful. The constant chatter of thoughts slows. The tension of focused attention releases. A sense of calm clarity emerges. Hans Berger, the German scientist who invented the electroencephalograph in 1929, discovered alpha waves while searching for the possible source of extrasensory perception. He noticed these 10 Hz oscillations emerging from the back of subjects' heads, strongest when their eyes were closed but still present during wakeful rest. He called them alpha waves because they were the first brain waves he observed and measured. Later, research would reveal their association with relaxation, meditation, and internally directed attention. The connection between fire flicker and alpha waves suggests something remarkable about human evolution. Over the hundreds of thousands of years that humans have gathered around fires, there may have been a feedback process at work. Individuals whose brains more readily synchronized with the flicker of flames would have experienced greater relaxation and social ease around the fire. They would have been more likely to linger in the warmth and safety of the hearth, to participate in social bonding, to learn from others, and to pass on their knowledge. Over time, this could have created selection pressure favoring brains that respond readily to 10 Hz visual stimulation. Alternatively, or perhaps additionally, the alignment might reflect something even more fundamental about consciousness and the physical world. The 10 Hz frequency appears in various natural phenomena, not just in fire. It is close to the frequency of certain brain rhythms involved in timing and prediction. It aligns with the timescales of certain perceptual processes. Perhaps this frequency represents a kind of natural resonance in the neural systems that process time and change, and fire happens to flicker at a rate that matches this fundamental oscillation. Research on brain entrainment has shown that exposure to 10 Hz flicker can improve various cognitive functions. One study found that visual flicker at a person's individual peak alpha frequency substantially accelerated perceptual learning, helping people learn to detect targets embedded in the background clutter or to identify complex patterns embedded in visual noise. The entrainment worked best when it matched each individual's natural alpha frequency, suggesting that there is something special about stimulation at this particular rate. However, more recent research has complicated this picture somewhat. Some studies have found that stimulus-driven brainwaves at 10 Hz, such as those produced by watching flickering screens, may not be identical to spontaneous alpha waves. They seem to be separate phenomena that can occur simultaneously, with one increasing while the other decreases depending on attention and task demands. This suggests that the relationship between fire flicker and alpha waves may be more nuanced than simple entrainment. What seems clear is that the 10 Hz flicker of fire interacts with brain rhythms in ways that promote relaxation and altered states of consciousness. Whether this happens through direct entrainment, through the activation of specific visual pathways, through the unique patterns of predictable unpredictability in flame movement, or through combination of these factors, the result is consistent. Watching fire shifts brain activity toward patterns associated with calm, focused, internally directed awareness. The mystery deepens when we consider that this effect seems to work even with simulated fire. In the Norwegian television experiment that aired 12 hours of continuous fireplace video, viewers reported significant relaxation effects despite knowing they were watching a screen. Virtual fireplaces, whether displayed on televisions or in digital applications, produce measurable decreases in blood pressure and stress hormones. This suggests that the visual stimulus alone, the pattern of flickering light at approximately 10 Hz, is sufficient to trigger the relaxation response. The evolutionary programming runs deep enough that even a simulation activates these ancient pathways. The 10 Hz mystery reminds us that we are not separate from nature. Our brains evolved in constant interaction with the physical world, shaped by rhythms and patterns that surrounded our ancestors. Fire was perhaps the most intimate of these patterns, present almost every evening, central to survival and social life. The fact that our neural oscillations align so precisely with the flicker of flames suggests a deep integration between human consciousness and this elemental force that has accompanied us throughout our journey as a species. Blood pressure and physical relaxation. The psychological effects of fire watching are accompanied by measurable physiological changes, particularly in the cardiovascular system. Multiple research studies have documented that watching fire, even simulated fire on a screen, produces consistent decreases in blood pressure. This is not a small or insignificant effect. In the University of Alabama studies, participants showed an average decrease of approximately 5% in their blood pressure after watching fireplace videos. For individuals with elevated blood pressure, such decreases can be clinically meaningful. Blood pressure reflects the state of your cardiovascular system and, more broadly, your nervous system's balance between sympathetic activation, the fight-or-flight mode, and parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest mode. When you are stressed, anxious, or on alert, your sympathetic nervous system dominates, increasing heart rate and blood pressure to prepare your body for action. When you are relaxed and safe, your parasympathetic nervous system takes over, slowing your heart rate and allowing blood pressure to decrease. Watching fire shifts this balance toward parasympathetic dominance. The visual input of flickering flames, combined with the sound of crackling wood when present, signals to your nervous system that you are in a safe, controlled environment. There is no threat to respond to, no action that needs to be taken. Your body can stand down from its state of readiness and enter a mode of recovery and restoration. This shift happens automatically, below the level of conscious awareness, as ancient neural circuits recognize the presence of controlled fire as a signal of safety and community. The blood pressure effect is particularly strong when both visual and auditory stimulation are present. In the Alabama research, participants who watched fire videos with sound showed more consistent and pronounced decreases in blood pressure compared to those who watched muted videos. The crackling and popping sounds of burning wood seem to enhance the overall relaxation effect. These sounds have their own rhythmic qualities and their own associations with safety and warmth, adding to the multisensory experience that makes fire so powerfully calming. Interestingly, the blood pressure effects were strongest in individuals who scored highly on measures of prosocial behavior such as empathy and prosociality. This finding supports the evolutionary hypothesis that fire and social bonding evolved together. Those who were naturally more inclined toward cooperation and social connection may have spent more time around fires, received more benefits from the calm social interactions that occurred there, and therefore developed stronger physiological responses to fire. Today, people who are more empathetic and socially oriented still show the strongest relaxation effects when exposed to fire, suggesting that these linked traits have persisted across evolutionary time. The relaxation extends beyond blood pressure to other aspects of physical state. Heart rate variability, which measures the variation in time between heartbeats and is considered an indicator of autonomic nervous system function, increases during fire watching. Higher heart rate variability is associated with better stress resilience and overall health. Muscle tension decreases, particularly in the shoulders, neck, and jaw, areas where many people unconsciously hold stress. breathing naturally slows and deepens, shifting from the shallow chest breathing associated with stress to the fuller diaphragmatic breathing associated with relaxation. Cortisol levels also decrease during extended fire watching. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, released in response to perceived threats or demands. Chronically elevated cortisol contributes to numerous health problems including immune suppression, sleep disturbances, weight gain, and cognitive impairment. Activities that reduce cortisol are therefore valuable for long-term health. The fact that something as simple as sitting by a fire can measurably decrease cortisol levels suggests that this ancient practice has genuine therapeutic value for modern stress-related conditions. The warmth of fire contributes to the physical relaxation as well. Heat causes blood vessels near the skin to dilate, improving circulation and creating a sensation of comfort. Warmth relaxes muscles directly, similar to the effect of a hot bath or heating pad. The combination of visual stimulation, auditory input, and physical warmth creates a multi-sensory experience that engages multiple pathways for inducing relaxation, each reinforcing the others. Some research suggests that regular exposure to fire or similar relaxation stimuli may have lasting effects on baseline stress levels and cardiovascular health. Just as regular meditation practice can produce enduring changes in brain structure and function, regular time spent in the calming presence of fire might contribute to lower baseline stress reactivity and better stress recovery. While more research is needed to confirm such long-term effects, the immediate physiological benefits are well documented and substantial. For people dealing with anxiety, chronic stress, or stress-related health conditions, these findings suggest that spending time by a fire, whether real or simulated, could be a valuable component of a stress management practice. Unlike some relaxation techniques that require learning and practice, the response to fire appears to be largely innate, requiring no special training or effort. You simply need to sit, watch, and allow your ancient neural circuits to do what they evolved to do over hundreds of thousands of years of human history. The meditative state of soft fascination. Psychologists use the term soft fascination to describe the particular quality of attention that fire evokes. This concept, developed by environmental psychologists studying attention restoration, distinguishes between different types of attention and their effects on mental state. Hard fascination involves attention that is dramatic, capturing, and potentially exhausting, such as watching an intense film or sporting event. Soft fascination involves attention that is gently held, allowing the mind to rest while remaining engaged. Nature scenes, flowing water, and flickering fire all produce soft fascination. When you watch fire, your attention is captured but not strained. The flames hold your gaze without demanding effort. This creates a unique mental state where you are both focused and relaxed simultaneously. Your conscious awareness is occupied with the visual stimulus, preventing the usual stream of thoughts and worries from dominating your mental space. Yet this occupation is not taxing. Unlike tasks that require sustained focused attention and lead to mental fatigue, watching fire can continue for extended periods without producing exhaustion. In fact, it seems to restore mental energy rather than depleting it. This state resembles what happens during certain forms of meditation, particularly open monitoring meditation, where attention rests gently on a chosen focus without forceful concentration. The flames become something like a meditation object, a point of return for wandering attention. When thoughts arise, as they inevitably do, the movement of the fire naturally draws awareness back without effort or judgment. This creates a natural form of mental training, strengthening the ability to remain present without forcing or striving. Brain imaging studies have shown that soft fascination activates the default mode network, while simultaneously reducing activity in the executive control network. The default mode network includes brain regions that activate during rest and internal reflection. This network is involved in self-referential thought, memory consolidation, imagining the future, and the kind of free associative thinking that often leads to creative insights. The executive control network, in contrast, activates during goal-directed tasks requiring focused attention and active problem-solving. In most situations, these two networks work in opposition. When you are focused on an external task, the executive control network dominates, and the default mode network quiets. When you stop working and let your mind wander, the default mode network activates, and the executive control network reduces its activity. Fire watching creates an unusual state where the default mode network can be active while the executive control network remains partially engaged through the gentle focus on flames. This combination may explain why people often report having insights and creative ideas while watching fire. The mind is free to wander and make novel connections, but it retains enough structure and focus to capture and develop those ideas. This meditative state also involves changes in time perception. Many people report that time seems to pass differently when watching fire. What felt like a few minutes might have been 30 minutes or an hour. This distortion happens because the usual markers of time passage, the progression of tasks, and the flow of thoughts are absent or greatly reduced. Your mind enters a kind of timeless present, absorbed in the constantly changing yet somehow eternal movement of flame. This dissolution of time consciousness is one of the characteristics of deep meditative states and contributes to the restorative quality of fire watching. The soft fascination state allows for a particular kind of mental processing that psychologists call unfocused processing. In this state, the mind works on problems and processes emotions without the directed effort of conscious problem solving. Memories surface and are integrated. Emotional experiences are processed and understood in new ways. Connections form between disparate pieces of information that normally remain separate. This is why people often describe feeling mentally refreshed and emotionally settled after spending time by a fire, even if they were not consciously working through any particular issue. Research on attention restoration theory, developed by environmental psychologists Rachel and Stephen Kaplan, suggests that environments producing soft fascination help restore depleted attentional resources. Modern life makes constant demands on directed attention. The effortful focus required for work, navigation, and dealing with technology. This directed attention is a limited resource that becomes depleted with use, leading to mental fatigue, reduced ability to concentrate, and increased stress. Exposure to restorative environments, including those involving fire, replenishes this resource, allowing directed attention to recover. The meditative quality of fire watching may also relate to its role in human evolution. Around the evening fire, early humans would have spent time in this state of soft fascination, their minds free to wander while their attention was gently held by the flames. This may have been when important cognitive work occurred, integrating the day's experiences, consolidating learning, planning for the future, and processing social dynamics. The state facilitated by fire watching may have been crucial for the development of human consciousness, providing regular periods of reduced external demands where internal mental processes could unfold and elaborate. Today, when you sit before a fire and feel your mind entering this quiet, spacious state, you are experiencing something that has been part of human life for hundreds of thousands of years. You are giving your consciousness the kind of time and space it evolved to need, a respite from constant external demands, a chance to settle and integrate, to rest while remaining gently aware. This is not emptiness or boredom, but a rich internal state where different kinds of mental work can proceed at their own pace, guided by processes deeper than conscious control. Fire as social connector. Throughout human history, fire has been more than a source of warmth and light. It has been, perhaps more importantly, a social catalyst and bonding agent. The hearth has served as the center of human social life, the place where people gathered, communicated, formed relationships, and transmitted culture across generations. This social function of fire has shaped both human behavior and human psychology in profound ways. When early humans gathered around fires, they created a literal and figurative circle of warmth and safety. The fire defined the space, illuminating faces and creating a boundary between the protected group and the darkness beyond. In this space, people could see and hear each other clearly. They could read facial expressions and body language, pick up on subtle emotional cues, and engage in the kind of extended face-to-face interaction that builds deep social bonds. The fire provided both the physical comfort and the psychological safety that allowed for meaningful social connection. Anthropologists believe that the institution of the hearth may have been crucial for the development of human social complexity. Around fires, knowledge was shared between generations. Elders told stories that encoded survival information, cultural values, and social rules. Young people learned by listening and observing. Skills were demonstrated and practiced. Conflicts were resolved. Alliances were formed and maintained. The extended evening hours made possible by firelight provided time for the elaborate social interactions that characterize human societies. Language itself may have flourished around fires. With faces visible and attention focused, communication became more nuanced and sophisticated. The evening gathering provided a context where language could develop beyond simple commands and immediate needs to encompass storytelling, abstract concepts, and complex social ideas. The fire created the conditions for what some researchers call gossip time, extended periods where people could talk about who did what, discuss relationships, build shared understanding of social norms, and coordinate group activities. Modern research confirms that fire continues to function as a social catalyst. The University of Alabama studies found that the relaxation effects of fire were strongest in people who scored highly on measures of prosocial behavior. People who are naturally more empathetic, generous, and cooperative show the strongest physiological responses to fire. This suggests a deep connection between fire and the human social instincts. Those who are most socially oriented are most affected by this ancient social anchor. Fire creates what researchers call a pro-social atmosphere. When people gather around a fire, whether in a living room fireplace or an outdoor fire pit, something shifts in the quality of their interactions. Conversations become more relaxed and authentic. People open up more easily, sharing thoughts and feelings that might not emerge in other contexts. The warm, non-threatening environment seems to lower social barriers and increase trust. Stories flow more naturally. Laughter comes more easily. Silence is comfortable rather than awkward. This pro-social effect may relate to the relaxation and stress reduction that fire induces. When people are less stressed and more physiologically calm, they are better able to engage in positive social behaviors. Stress tends to make us more defensive, self-focused, and less able to read and respond to others' emotional states. Relaxation opens us to connection. The decrease in cortisol and increase in oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, that occurs during fire watching, may directly enhance our capacity for empathy and social connection. The modern fireplace continues to serve this social function. In homes with fireplaces, these spaces often become natural gathering places. People arrange furniture to face the fireplace. They choose to spend time in rooms with fires when they want to talk, to share, to simply be together. Even in our age of central heating and electric lighting, the fireplace retains its power to draw people into shared space and shared experience. This is not nostalgia or tradition alone, but a reflection of something deeper in human social psychology. Fire also facilitates what developmental psychologists call parallel presence, being together without the pressure of constant interaction. Around a fire, people can sit in comfortable silence, each absorbed in watching the flames while still experiencing connection through shared presence. This kind of togetherness may be particularly valuable in our modern world where so much interaction is mediated by screens and where silence is often filled with digital distractions. Fire provides a focus that allows people to simply be together. The ritual aspects of fire add to its social power. The process of building a fire, tending it, and eventually letting it burn down to embers creates a shared temporal structure. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end, and everyone present participates in this arc. The fire requires attention and care, activities that can be shared, creating a sense of common purpose and mutual investment in the experience. Even small acts like adding a log or adjusting the arrangement of burning wood become moments of participation in something larger than oneself. In therapeutic contexts, fireplaces have been used intentionally to create environments conducive to opening up and processing emotions. The combination of warmth, soft light, and the meditative quality of flames seems to help people access and discuss difficult feelings. The fire provides something external to focus on, reducing the intensity of direct eye contact while still maintaining a sense of shared attention. This can make challenging conversations feel safer and more manageable. The social function of fire may help explain why virtual fireplaces, despite their effectiveness at producing relaxation, feel somehow incomplete compared to real fires. While the visual and auditory stimuli can be replicated, the shared experience of tending an actual fire, the practical collaboration it requires, and the subtle ways a real fire affects the environment of a room are difficult to simulate. Nevertheless, even watching a screen together with the image of fire seems to retain some of the pro-social quality, suggesting that the core psychological effect is powerful enough to persist even in simulated form. Sensory symphony. The relaxation induced by fire emerges not from a single stimulus, but from a rich orchestration of sensory experiences, each contributing to the overall effect. Fire engages vision, hearing, touch, and even smell, creating a multi-sensory experience that is far more powerful than any single component alone. Understanding this sensory symphony helps explain why fire has such a profound and lasting impact on human consciousness. The visual component we have already explored in depth, the flickering light at around 10 Hz, the unpredictable yet patterned movement of flames, the warm colors in the orange and red range, the subtle variations in intensity and form. But the visual experience of fire has additional layers. There is the glow of embers, which provides a more steady, less flickering light source that becomes more prominent as the fire burns down. There are the shadows cast by flames, dancing on nearby walls and surfaces, extending the movement beyond the fire itself, and creating a sense that the entire space is animated by the fire's presence. The color spectrum of firelight deserves special attention. Unlike the narrow spectrum of LED lights or the blue-heavy spectrum of many electronic displays, firelight provides a broad spectrum emphasizing warm wavelengths. This spectral composition has important effects on human physiology. The warm, red-orange light of fire does not suppress melatonin production the way blue light does. Melatonin is the hormone that regulates sleep-wake cycles, increasing in the evening to prepare the body for sleep. Exposure to blue light in the evening interferes with this process, which is why using electronic devices before bed can disrupt sleep. Firelight, in contrast, allows natural melatonin production to proceed, helping to prepare the body for restful sleep while still providing enough light to see and interact. The auditory dimension of fire adds significantly to its relaxing effect. The sound of burning wood has distinctive characteristics, the crackling and popping as pockets of moisture and resin heat up and release, the subtle roar of flames consuming fuel, the occasional louder pop when a larger pocket of sap ignites, the settling sounds as logs shift and collapse into embers. These sounds have irregular rhythms that capture attention without being startling. They provide a natural soundscape that masks other environmental noises, creating acoustic privacy that allows for conversation or quiet contemplation. Research has shown that the sound component of fire significantly enhances the relaxation response. In the University of Alabama studies, participants who watched fireplace videos with sound showed greater decreases in blood pressure than those who watched muted videos. The combination of visual and auditory stimulation appears to create a more complete experience, engaging more sensory pathways and producing stronger effects. The sounds of fire may trigger associations with safety and comfort independent of the visual stimulus, activating memories and emotional responses connected to past experiences around fires. The thermal component, the actual heat produced by fire, contributes substantially to the overall experience. Warmth is inherently pleasurable to humans and other mammals. It signals safety and adequate resources. Cold, in contrast, activates stress responses and requires energy expenditure to maintain body temperature. When you sit near a fire, the radiant heat warms your skin directly, creating immediate comfort. This warmth causes blood vessels near the skin surface to dilate, improving circulation and creating a flushed, relaxed feeling. The warmth also has direct effects on the muscle tension. Heat causes muscles to relax, similar to the effect of a hot bath or sauna. This is why people often position themselves with their backs to a fire or extend their hands toward flames seeking the therapeutic warmth. The physical relaxation of muscles contributes to the overall sense of ease and helps prepare the body for sleep. The combination of mental relaxation from the visual and auditory stimuli and physical relaxation from warmth creates a comprehensive effect on the entire organism. The olfactory component of fire, while perhaps less prominent than the others, adds another layer to the experience. Wood smoke has a distinctive smell that many people find pleasant and evocative. Different types of wood produce different scents when burned. Pine releases aromatic terpenes. Hardwoods like oak produce sweeter, more subtle scents. These smells can trigger powerful memories and associations. For many people, the smell of wood smoke instantly evokes feelings of comfort, childhood memories, or positive experiences camping or gathered with family. Smell is processed by brain regions intimately connected with memory and emotion, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus. This is why scents can trigger such vivid memories and emotional responses. The smell of wood smoke, for people who have positive associations with fire, activates these memory and emotion systems, adding an emotional richness to the experience that enhances the overall sense of well-being and relaxation. The multi-sensory nature of fire creates what neuroscientists call cross-modal integration, where stimuli from different senses combine to produce effects greater than the sum of their parts. The brain does not process visual, auditory, thermal, and olfactory information in isolation, but integrates them into a unified percept, a holistic experience of fireness. This integration happens automatically and produces a richer, more salient, and more emotionally impactful experience than any single sensory channel could provide alone. This multi-sensory richness may help explain why people sometimes find simulated fireplaces less satisfying than real ones, despite the visual and auditory elements being well reproduced. The thermal and olfactory components are absent, and the knowledge that the fire is not real may prevent full emotional engagement. Nevertheless, even with just visual and auditory stimulation, virtual fireplaces can produce significant relaxation effects, demonstrating that these two sensory channels alone carry much of fire's psychological power. The sensory symphony of fire creates an immersive experience that fully engages attention while simultaneously promoting relaxation. Each sensory channel contributes its own pathway to calm, and together they create an experience that is difficult to replicate with any other stimulus. This is perhaps why, despite all of our modern technology and entertainment options, people continue to seek out the experience of real fire and find it uniquely satisfying and restorative. Light spectrum and circadian rhythms. The quality of light we expose ourselves to has profound effects on our internal biological rhythms, mood, and overall health. The human body evolved under conditions where the only sources of light were the sun, the moon, and fire. Our circadian rhythms, the approximately 24-hour cycles that regulate sleep, hormone production, and numerous other physiological processes, are synchronized by light exposure, particularly by the spectrum and timing of that light. Fire provides a quality of light that aligns with our evolutionary history in ways that modern artificial lighting often does not. Natural sunlight contains the full spectrum of visible wavelengths plus ultraviolet and infrared radiation. During the day, sunlight is rich in blue wavelengths, which are particularly effective at suppressing melatonin production and signaling to the brain that it is time to be awake and alert. As the sun sets, the light becomes warmer, with more red and orange wavelengths and less blue. This shift signals to the body that night is approaching and that it should begin preparing for sleep by increasing melatonin production. For hundreds of thousands of years, after sunset, the only sources of light available to humans were the moon, stars, and fire. None of these sources contain significant amounts of blue light. The moon reflects sunlight, but at intensities far too low to affect melatonin production significantly. Fire produces light almost entirely in the red, orange, and yellow portions of the spectrum. This meant that once the sun set, human bodies received a clear signal that it was time to wind down, and melatonin levels would rise naturally to promote sleep. Modern electric lighting disrupts this ancient pattern. Most indoor lighting, particularly energy-efficient LED bulbs and fluorescent lights, contains significant amounts of blue wavelength light. While this blue-rich light is effective for keeping people alert and awake, exposure to it in the evening interferes with melatonin production. Electronic devices like televisions, computers, tablets, and smartphones emit particularly high levels of blue light. Using these devices in the hours before bed can significantly delay the onset of melatonin production, making it harder to fall asleep and reducing sleep quality. This is where the traditional evening by the fireplace takes on new significance. Firelight provides illumination sufficient for social interaction, reading, or other quiet evening activities. But its warm spectrum does not interfere with melatonin production. Spending evening hours in the presence of firelight allows the body's natural sleep preparation processes to proceed unhindered. This is one reason why people often report feeling pleasantly drowsy after spending time by a fire, and why many find it easier to fall asleep after an evening by the fireplace. The light from fire also has psychological effects related to color psychology. Warm colors like red, orange, and yellow are associated with positive emotions, comfort, and safety across many cultures. Cool colors like blue and white, while beautiful in other contexts, are less associated with relaxation and evening calm. The warm glow of firelight creates an environment that feels emotionally warm as well as physically warm, contributing to the overall sense of comfort and security. For people who struggle with seasonal affective disorder or other conditions related to light exposure and circadian rhythm disruption, incorporating evening time by a fire or other warm-spectrum light source could potentially have therapeutic benefits. While bright blue-rich light therapy is effective for treating morning depression and regulating circadian rhythms when used in the morning, evening exposure to warm light may help prepare the body for sleep without interfering with the benefits of morning light therapy. The contrast between the brightness of the fire and the relative darkness of the surrounding space also matters. When the fire is the primary light source, the rest of the environment is dim. This creates a focused visual field and reduces the amount of visual information the brain must process. The dimness signals evening and rest, while the fire provides enough light to maintain wakefulness and social interaction. This balance between light and dark may be optimal for evening activities that are meant to be engaging but not stimulating, social but not demanding, awake but preparing for sleep. In contrast to the harsh, even illumination of modern interior lighting, firelight creates a soft, dancing illumination with gradients of brightness that constantly change. There are no sharp shadows or bright spots that strain the eyes. The light moves and shifts, which keeps it interesting without being demanding. This quality of illumination is gentle on the visual system and contributes to the overall sense of ease and relaxation. Some research suggests that exposure to natural patterns of light, including warm spectrum light in the evening, may have long-term benefits for circadian rhythm stability and overall health. Circadian rhythm disruption has been linked to various health problems including mood disorders, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. Any practice that helps maintain healthy circadian rhythms, such as exposure to appropriate light at appropriate times, may have preventive health benefits that extend far beyond the immediate experience of relaxation. The modern world presents us with numerous challenges to our circadian health. We spend much of our time indoors under artificial lighting. We use blue light emitting devices late into the evening. We often lack sufficient bright light exposure during the day. In this context, the traditional practice of spending evening time by a fire, exposed to warm spectrum light that aligns with our evolutionary heritage, becomes more than just a pleasant pastime. It becomes a form of self-care that supports our biological rhythms and helps restore balance to systems that modern living tends to disrupt. Modern applications and understanding. As we have explored throughout this journey, the psychological and physiological effects of fire are well documented by modern science. This raises interesting questions about how we might apply this ancient source of relaxation in contemporary life, particularly for people who do not have access to traditional fireplaces, or who live in environments where open fires are impractical or prohibited. The research on virtual fireplaces has produced surprisingly positive results. In the Norwegian television experiment, a continuous 12-hour broadcast of a burning fireplace became unexpectedly popular and produced relaxation effects in viewers despite their awareness that they were watching a screen. Subsequent studies have confirmed that videos and digital simulations of fireplaces, particularly those that include sound, can produce measurable decreases in blood pressure and stress hormones. While these effects may not be quite as strong as those produced by real fire, they are nonetheless substantial and clinically meaningful. This opens up the possibility of using fireplace videos or apps as accessible relaxation tools. For people living in apartments without fireplaces, for those who cannot safely operate real fires due to health or safety concerns, or for anyone seeking a convenient relaxation method, virtual fireplaces offer a surprisingly effective option. High-quality videos that include both realistic visuals and authentic sound appear to be most effective, as both sensory channels contribute to the overall relaxation response. Some researchers and clinicians have begun exploring the use of fireplace imagery in therapeutic contexts. For patients with anxiety disorders, chronic stress, or insomnia, watching fireplace videos as part of a bedtime routine may help activate the relaxation response and prepare the body for sleep. The combination of the 10 Hz visual flicker, the calming sounds, and the psychological associations with safety and warmth can help transition from the alertness of daytime to the calm needed for rest. Virtual reality technology presents new possibilities for recreating the fire experience. VR fireplaces can provide more immersive experiences than flat screens, potentially enhancing the sense of presence and thereby strengthening the relaxation effect. While research on VR fireplaces is still limited, early indications suggest that immersive technologies may be able to reproduce more of the psychological benefits of real fire than traditional video alone. The understanding of why fire relaxes us also has implications for architectural and interior design. Incorporating fireplaces into living spaces, whether traditional wood-burning, gas, electric, or ethanol-based, creates gathering places that naturally promote relaxation and social connection. The design of such spaces can maximize the benefits by allowing comfortable seating with good views of the fire, by reducing other sources of stimulation like bright lights or television, and by creating an atmosphere of warmth and enclosure. Outdoor fire features, including fire pits, outdoor fireplaces, and contained campfires, extend living space and create environments for evening relaxation and social gathering. The research on fire's effects suggests that these features offer genuine health benefits beyond their aesthetic appeal. They create natural gathering places that encourage face-to-face interaction, reduces stress, and provide the restorative effects of exposure to nature combined with the specific benefits of fire. For hospitality settings such as hotels, restaurants, and spas, understanding fire's psychological effects can inform design choices that enhance guest experience and well-being. Fireplace lounges in hotels often become popular gathering spaces. Restaurants with fireplaces create atmospheres of comfort and intimacy. Spas can incorporate fireplaces into relaxation areas to enhance the overall restorative experience. These design elements work not just because they look appealing, but because they activate deep psychological responses that promote relaxation and positive social interaction. The research on fire also has implications for understanding other relaxation stimuli. What makes fire effective? Its combination of soft fascination, rhythmic stimulation, warm sensory qualities, and evolutionary associations might guide the development of other relaxation technologies or environments. Virtual environments designed for stress reduction might incorporate elements like 10 Hz rhythmic movement, warm color palettes, and sounds that trigger positive associations. Lighting design might consciously shift a spectrum toward warm tones in evening spaces. Multi-sensory experiences might be designed to engage multiple pathways to relaxation, as fire naturally does. Educational settings might also benefit from this understanding. Creating spaces with fireplaces or fire features where students can gather for informal learning, discussion, and social connection might support both academic and social development. The calming effects of fire could help reduce anxiety and create more conducive environments for open discussion and creative thinking. Evening study sessions or residential programs might specifically incorporate fireside time as part of supporting student well-being. In healthcare settings, understanding fire's effects might inform the design of patient areas and waiting rooms. While open flames are often impractical in such environments for safety and regulatory reasons, virtual fireplaces or other applications of the principles we have discussed might help reduce patient anxiety and create more healing environments. The same considerations apply to mental health facilities, where environments that promote calm and reduce agitation are particularly important. The growing field of ecotherapy, which uses nature exposure as a therapeutic intervention, might consciously incorporate fire experiences. Therapeutic camping trips, wilderness programs for at-risk youth, and nature-based interventions for various mental health conditions could all benefit from understanding and intentionally utilizing fire's psychological effects. The combination of being in nature and experiencing fire may provide synergistic benefits, each enhancing the other. Finally, the research on fire reminds us of the value of simple, low-technology experiences in an increasingly complex and mediated world. In our rush toward novelty and technological sophistication, we risk losing touch with practices and experiences that have served human well-being for countless generations. Understanding why fire relaxes us validates and dignifies these ancient practices. It suggests that sometimes the most effective interventions for modern problems are not new technologies, but renewed engagement with timeless experiences that align with our evolutionary heritage. Closing reflections. As we reach the end of our exploration into the mystery of why fire relaxes the human brain, we find ourselves with a deeper understanding that bridges ancient experience and modern science. What appears as simple as sitting before flickering flames reveals itself as a complex interaction between evolutionary history, neurological processes, social psychology, and basic human physiology. Fire speaks to something fundamental in what we are, something that has been part of human experience for so long that it has become woven into the very structure of our brains. When you sit before a fire and feel yourself settling into calm, you are not experiencing an accident or coincidence. You are participating in something that has been central to human life for hundreds of thousands of years. Your brain, responding to the 10 Hz flicker of flames, shifts into patterns of activity associated with relaxation and internally directed awareness. Your nervous system, reading the multisensory signals of warmth, light, and sound, recognizes safety and shifts toward parasympathetic dominance. Your blood pressure decreases. Your breathing slows and deepens. Your muscles release their tension. all of this happens naturally, below the level of conscious control, as ancient circuits fulfill the functions they evolved to serve. The social dimension adds another layer of meaning to the experience. Fire does not just relax isolated individuals. It creates spaces where people can gather, connect, and share in ways that strengthen bonds and build community. In our modern world, where social isolation has become a significant health concern, and where so much interaction is mediated by screens and technology, the simple act of gathering around a fire offers something increasingly rare, genuine, embodied, face-to-face connection in an atmosphere that naturally promotes openness and trust. Understanding why fire affects us as it does also reminds us that we are not separate from the natural world. We are animals, products of evolution, shaped by the environments and experiences of our ancestors. Our brains carry the imprint of countless nights around fires, countless moments of warmth and safety and connection. When we honor these inheritances, when we create space for experiences that align with our evolutionary heritage, we often find that our well-being improves in ways that no amount of modern convenience can replicate. This does not mean rejecting modernity or retreating into the past. Rather, it means recognizing that some ancient practices have value precisely because they are ancient, because they have worked for human well-being across vast stretches of time. It means being thoughtful about which traditions we preserve and which modern innovations we adopt. It means understanding that optimal human well-being likely involves a blend of ancient wisdom and contemporary knowledge, traditional practices, and modern insights. If you have enjoyed this gentle exploration into the science of fire and mind, I hope you will consider joining our community. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Sleepy Science Society. Your support helps us continue creating these peaceful explorations where science becomes a companion to rest, where understanding deepens without strain, where curiosity and calm coexist. Share this with someone who might find comfort in understanding why such simple things bring us peace. For now, as we come to rest at the end of this journey, imagine yourself before a fire. See the flames dancing their ancient dance. Hear the gentle crackling and popping of burning wood. Feel the warmth spreading through your body. Allow your breathing to slow and deepen. Let your muscles release their tension. Let your mind settle into that state of soft fascination, present but not effortful, aware but not active. You carry within you hundreds of thousands of years of ancestors who found peace in this exact experience. Their inheritance lives in you. Honor it. Rest in it. Let it hold you as you drift toward sleep. The fire burns on, as it has for so long, patient and eternal, dancing the same dance that has accompanied human consciousness through its entire journey. You are part of that story. You belong to that warmth. Let yourself settle into it completely. Good night.